Today's show is part of the Spotlight series, and I interviewed James Hutchings, founder and owner of Southwest Blinds and Shutters on the West Coast. He is also the owner of Aries Dealers Network. His idea is to bring a reliable product and have a network of experts that don't compete with each other for a better market, better profits, and better business. James started knocking on doors and built a 8-figure business. Very interesting how you can do something when you have the willingness to do it. If you want to learn more, stick around right after this.
Welcome to No Strings Attached, the place where we untangle honest conversations about business, reinvention, and the pursuit of the American dream. Hosted by Roger Magalhães, Brazilian-born, Boston-bred, Florida-based. He is an entrepreneur, speaker, and storyteller with 20 years of real stories, laughs, and screw-ups. This show is for anyone still searching for their place under the sun. So pull up a chair. The show is about to start. Here's Roger with No Strings Attached.
Appreciate you being here. Appreciate your time. And for the people that don't know you, I actually don't know you too well. I know you just a little bit from Facebook, from talking to you here and there. But tell everyone that listen to our show your 30-second introduction. If you just meet someone at a trade show or, at an event, who are you?
Yes, I think very first I'm a dealer, an independent dealer. I got into the business 25 years ago. So I have been an independent window covering dealer for 25 years. I operate currently in Las Vegas, Nevada, and in Arizona. And I love being a dealer. I mean, that's really who I am to my core. I started out in the business as a door-to-door salesman. I was actually a door-to-door salesman for almost 15 years.
Okay.
So really, I'd say I'm a salesman at my core too, because that was just that built into my DNA. And now we're opening another part of our business. So now we're going to be a supplier and a dealer.
Okay.
But all I do is window coverings. It's really all I've ever known. I had some odd jobs before I got into window coverings.
Uh-huh.
My entire adult life, my only real career has just been being a blind guy. So, yeah,
All right.
blind guy, man.
And where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay.
Lived there my whole life until I got married and started having kids, and then we moved. I got into the blind business in Las Vegas by accident. I was actually I was newly married. I was young. I had done a little bit of college, just like community college. I'd worked construction, worked in the trades a little bit. For a couple of years, I left the U.S. and went to the Philippines. Then I was missionary for the LDS Church.
Cool.
So that happened from almost 21 to 23.
Okay.
And when I came back to the States, I met my wife. We got married really fast. We only dated for 2.5 months.
Okay.
And got married just trying to figure out life.
Sure.
And so I thought I wanted to be a firefighter paramedic. And so I got into the EMT program, started doing that, loved that. And I still had to work because, I'm trying to support my wife and she's pregnant.
Sure.
I got laid off from a job. And so I had a buddy who was selling sunscreens, the little exterior shade screens that are fixed over windows. And they did a little bit of blinds.
Okay.
So he offered me a position just to be a canvasser. And he worked part-time out selling, mostly door to door. So he just said, "Hey, man, you can ride with me. And I'll just point to the houses that I want you to knock on. You just go knock on the houses." And
did you really do that?
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, that's what we did. So he's like, I get in his truck. There's no training. It's just like, we just start driving around Las Vegas, heading to new home neighborhoods.
Okay.
And he just goes, "Go talk to them," and just points to a house.
Yeah.
It looked like there was a new move-in.
Uh-huh.
And, he just said, "Introduce yourself and tell them we're out doing estimates." And so I just walked up. But I had been a missionary for our church.
So you did something similar kind.
Well, we didn't do door to door. We're in the Philippines where I had lived. We talked
Yeah.
to people all day long though, every single day.
Okay.
So I had never knocked the door,
Okay.
but it was still talking to strangers. And so I
Yeah.
knocked on that door and talked us into that first house.
Yeah.
And then he went in and sold that house. And then I got us into the next house, and I ended up getting us in four houses that day. And
So
so
was he sitting across the street from you, watching you, or
yeah, he just sat in his truck. So he would stay in the truck because here's the thing. He couldn't pay me an hourly wage because he wasn't busy enough to do that. He was just trying to
okay?
help out. So he's like, I'll pay you to do the part of the job I don't want to do.
Okay.
And then if you get in the house, then come get me and we'll go in there together. And then I would just watch him sell because I didn't know anything about window coverings or how to sell anything. So that's what we did. But he wanted to work part time. He didn't want to work full time, and I needed money. So
Okay.
we'd have some days we'd go out and do that, and we wouldn't get in any houses. And then, we might go 3 days and not get into a single house.
Is
And then
that
on
right?
day four, we'd get into a house and sell a job. So I'd make $200 or $300.
Okay.
So I was making about $600 to $900 a week,
Uh-huh.
which was helping. That was enough that we were surviving.
But your job was just to open the door, and he was the one that going to close the job, right?
Yeah. So I just sit in the house and watch him sell.
Okay. And when you knock on the door and people come out, so I understand because I come from Massachusetts, and usually the homes are kind of set back a little bit. It's
Yep.
not right on the street.
Yep.
So we're not supposed to walk into someone's property. It's more like trespassing. So if I come to the front door, I'm actually kind of 300 feet inside the property already. So
Yeah.
they could just shoot me right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So did you go to places like that, or was the front door right on the street? You just kind of knock right there.
In Las Vegas, the neighborhoods we worked were like track home neighborhoods.
Okay.
So you'd have like the Pulte's and the Del Webbs, the DR Hortons, the big national builders.
Right.
And they're just building, I mean, they're nice homes, but smaller yards. But
Yeah.
that's how Las Vegas is. It's not, most people don't have large properties and have,
Florida has similar
it's similar to
situations. Yeah.
Florida, Utah, a lot of California is like that. So,
Uh-huh.
we would see no soliciting signs. We would try to get into communities that had gates or
Okay.
guard gates. We had to be a little sneaky and tricky to try to find the construction entrances and go in neighborhoods where there wasn't as much door-to-door competition.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd say whether they had a gate or didn't, most people are not excited to open the door
They were not.
to a door-to-door salesman. It's not-
Okay.
yeah.
So what was your opening line once people answered the door?
Yeah, so I usually kept it simple. We would only knock on a house that looked like it was new.
Okay. No shades, obviously. Outside.
No shades. So that was the talking point, and I just say, hey, my name's James with Southwest Blinds and Shutters.
Yeah.
I just want to come introduce myself. I noticed you guys didn't have anything on your windows.
Uh-huh.
It looks like you guys just moved in. We're actually doing estimates in the area.
Uh-huh.
I figured you guys would like a free estimate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I'd say. I just said, I figured you'd like a free estimate.
Okay.
And then I just stare.
Wow.
And then the conversation would go wherever it went. And most people would say, I already ordered.
Uh-huh.
That was the most common thing I heard. Sometimes it was just
Okay.
go away.
Yeah.
And then, about every 20th person we could find home,
Mm-hmm.
to the door,
Yeah.
would say, sure, come on in.
Wow.
So we didn't knock every single door because,
Right.
you go into a subdivision and you have to find the people with no shades
Yes.
that just moved in.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we did was just driving. There was a lot of new home communities. And so we just drove around street after street. We kind of ran the same route every day because we knew
Okay.
where all the subdivisions were. And after you drive into a neighborhood 5 times in a
Okay.
week, the houses you're looking for.
Uh-huh.
So we would, if they didn't answer, we'd leave a flyer.
Yeah.
We'd go back the next day. We'd just keep knocking until we saw something on the window.
Okay.
And I did that. So I canvassed for him for about 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
but he was only working part-time. And I'm like, man, I need to make more money. Like I see the potential.
Yeah.
If I could do this 8 hours a day and then I could sell and make a commission. So I'd get my door commission and the sales commission. I think I could make enough money to survive.
Okay.
And so he eventually gave me sample books and said, go ahead. And,
Okay.
there was no schedule. There was no like marketing or anything. So he just said, take that side of town. And he stopped going out knocking.
Okay.
And I just went out and just started knocking doors all day long. And I would just leave at like 9 in the morning. But I worked full time. I would drive the entire day. And so I ended up selling usually about 3 to 5 jobs a week,
Yeah.
door to door, but it was only full houses because I'm only knocking in brand new neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So there was no like 2 window jobs or four. Every job was 10 to 30 windows.
So this was your primary source of income at that time?
That's my only source of income.
So you were hungry.
Yeah, I was newly married. We had just bought a little teeny tiny house. We bought a family car. I had a daughter.
Uh-huh.
My wife was about to have our first baby.
Right. So
And
you're hungry and you kind of desperate. You need to make money. And
that's
you saw the potential, I don't care what I need to do. I see potential. This guy's not giving me enough. So give me sample books. I want to do more. I want to make more. And what happened next?
well, then I started selling jobs. And
Uh-huh.
instead of making $200 on that job, I just made $600.
It's a
And if
big
I
improvement.
sell 3, now I'm making $1,800 a week. If I sell 5, now I'm making $3,000 a week. And
So
this was
you're
2000.
incentivized.
Yeah, this is 2002. I'm 23 years old. I'd never made more than minimum. I mean, I think at the time construction, I was making $9 an hour.
Right.
So I'm approaching like a 6-figure income at 23, 24.
Yeah.
The job sucks.
Yeah.
Knocking doors is not fun.
Right.
And it's, like people are questioning what I'm doing with my life.
Uh-huh.
My in-laws are like, oh, my daughter married this guy who was going to go to college and be a firefighter. And now he's a door-to-door salesman. And
So how this whole change happened from trying to be a firefighter to start knocking on doors?
well, my intention was to just knock doors and do school at night
Uh-huh.
and just do that temporarily.
Okay.
And, I would work for a while and I'd do school and then I'd take a little break because I just need to make more money.
Sure.
And then I'd start school again. But I started making enough money doing door to door.
Uh-huh.
And I knew people on the fire department, but I was making a lot more than they were.
Right. So kind of too hard to justify.
And my wife didn't want to go back to work. She wanted to stay home and raise our daughter.
Sure.
So and I met a lot of guys trying to get on the fire department in Vegas, and it was really difficult. And so a lot of them ended up being paramedics for like the private paramedic companies like Mercy Ambulance in Vegas.
Okay.
They were making like $11 an hour, and they'd been
Right.
trying to get on the fire department for like 7 years.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like in this thing where like I love the work. Like when I do ride-alongs with the paramedics, I loved it. It was like
Uh-huh.
the best days of my professional life were doing that.
Really? Okay.
But I would have to have a second job and I'd have to have a crazy schedule and it might take me 8 years to get on the fire department. And then I
Right.
have this other job that stinks, but I'm making a ton of money. And I'm driving around in my car, listening to the radio and then just getting people telling me no 50 times a day.
Yeah.
But that I still make more money than I ever thought I could make. So it was like a very
You need to choose between what you love that doesn't pay or what you don't love but put food on the table.
that's what it was. And then my brother got into it because he was doing the same thing. He was doing real estate.
Okay.
He wasn't busy. He wasn't making enough money. So he had also served a mission.
Okay.
So he ended up working for the same friend on the other side of town.
All right. Same company.
Same company. We were the only 2 salesmen on the opposite ends of town. So we end up after a while deciding just to go on our own
All right.
because we're kind of seeing the work and it's like the back end's not that complicated. So we
Sure.
We get our business license and we just keep doing the same thing. I'm on one side of town, he's on the other side.
Hey there, Roger here. Just a quick note. This episode is brought to you by blindsonline.com. If you've been thinking about new window treatments, I want you to check them out. I am a partner there, and I can tell you firsthand, the quality, the selection, and the service are the real deal. Listen, over 5,000 five-star reviews don't lie. Whether you are a homeowner or a trade professional, blindsonline.com has you covered. Easy process and affordable prices. And because you are supporting the show here, I want to support you as well. Use coupon code PODCAST at the checkout and you get 10% off of your order. There's a link in the show notes. And by the way, if you're getting value from the show, do me a big favor and share these with someone who needs to hear. Word of mouth is everything to me, and you know it, and I really appreciate your support. Now, back to the show. Now you really scale the business from making a commission to really creating this whole thing.
Yeah, because we had no overhead. So when we got a business license, I was making even more money
Right.
because now I didn't have to pay the company I was working for. I wasn't advertising.
Okay.
The back end wasn't that much because we just fax our orders over to the supplier and we subcontracted the install.
Yeah.
So that part was easy, and it went like that for a little while, and we were making a lot of money. But
Yeah.
then we got this grand idea.
Yes.
Let's grow the business. We'll make even more money.
But working with family is not exactly fun, is it? At times?
Yeah, I mean it's difficult. We actually started adding a bunch of family. Like one of our ideas was like, let's grow,
Uh-huh.
advertise,
Okay.
let's hire buddies to door knock. Like let's grow a big business.
Sure.
But we didn't know anything about business. Like all we knew is if you go door knocking, you can make good money.
Yeah.
So we thought if we can hire more door knockers and then advertise in the yellow pages and do that, then we can make even more money. And then we started hiring a bunch of our family members because we didn't know who to hire. And we
Okay.
got a little office and just shoved a bunch of people in there.
Yeah.
But we never managed anyone at all. I mean, we're 24. My brother's 22.
So no one has had a business background, what kind of marketing,
Zero.
overhead.
Roger, I was like,
Profits.
I barely graduated high school.
Okay.
I was not a good student. I was like, didn't pay attention. All I did is play basketball, lift weights, and hang out.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I was a bad student. And
Uh-huh.
luckily the missions we served, we got very disciplined.
Okay.
It taught us how to work hard.
Sure.
But when it came to like formal education, I didn't know what a bookkeeper was. I didn't know what a P&L was. I didn't know I had no idea even what a budget was.
So this is the beauty of America. So there's opportunity for everyone. Even someone like you said, you didn't do great in high school, but you saw potential, you were starving, you still have an opportunity to create a business and to go after that. But obviously, you hit the wall because, as you said, you didn't have business expertise or anything. So what happened then? How did you grow your business? And you have a bunch of friends and family, and sounds like fun, but I'm sure it was chaotic a lot of times. So how did you learn to manage and to grow these? Because I know your business was extremely successful at one point. So how did you get out of these?
Yeah, so we tried, like we grew up pretty big. I think we had in my early 20s, I think we grew to about 20 employees.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we were doing, I don't know because we didn't keep any financial records, but I think we were doing about $3 to $4 million a year door to door selling.
Is that
And
right?
yeah, and some advertising. We were doing a lot of business. But the crazy thing is, when I was just me doing door to door and my brother was on the other side of town, I was making a lot of money. It
Okay.
was amazing. We started adding all these people and our
Yeah.
sales were increasing. And we have a warehouse and we have employees. And all of a sudden, I'm like having a hard time with payroll and paying my suppliers. And I'm making less money. Like I'm having to, even though I'm selling a lot, because I'm still out doing door to door,
Yeah.
I'm not getting the money from as much as I would have from what I was selling before. And then the other guys who are out selling aren't selling like me and my brother.
Right.
We have guys, but they're not out there like we are. I just assumed these guys would go out 8 hours a day like me and that they'd sell 3 to 5 houses each a week. And if we had 6 or 7 guys, we'd be making tons of money. But what I
It's funny because we all think that everybody's going to think like us, going to work like us, right? And apparently it doesn't work like that.
yeah, you end up managing people and, like you end up spending a lot of time trying to fix things that are broken. But we had such a chaotic business
Mm-hmm.
because all we knew how to do was door to door. So we ended up getting to a point where it was like, okay, this isn't working anymore. We've got to figure out like what to do. And
Okay.
I decided to move. We kind of scaled the business down.
Yeah.
There was a whole thing. I ended up giving the business to my brother and I moved.
Yeah. Okay.
And I moved to Arizona and decided to go back to the old ways.
Okay.
No employees, door knocking only,
Yeah.
subcontract the install. And I was
Okay.
kind of like, and I did that. That was in 2006.
All right.
So at that time, I'd been doing it for about 4 years straight.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went back from having a bigger team and a little building and, like 15, 20 employees to just me. So it felt like a huge failure,
Okay.
but I started making money again.
All right. Did you stay that way?
I did for a long time. I stayed that
Okay.
for until 2012. So 6 years. 6 years I kept it just me and I subcontracted my install. I didn't really advertise. I did tons of door knocking. I got better at getting referrals and repeat customers. I figured
Yeah.
out some better ways to kind of canvas and create more business through door knocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 6 years. So it was really like a 10-year run, 11-year run where all I did was door knock.
Yeah.
But in Arizona, it was just like Vegas.
All right.
It was the same, just driving
Yeah.
neighborhoods and trying to find people home. And at the same time, we went through that housing crash in 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
And that made it really difficult because I was selling to brand new homes,
And there was no brand new homes then.
no brand new homes. So
Yeah.
I ended up
I
doing a lot of crazy stuff during that time to try to survive. So,
okay. So I heard from someone in the business a few years back that sometimes it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep it. And you just confirmed that you had a bigger operation and a lot of headaches and not making as much money as you used to. And then you went back to be a one-man show and now you're making more money.
making more money.
Okay. So perhaps it's the overheads and those extra layers of administration and, people to control the process that kind of eats all your profit, right?
Yeah, and I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the money side of it, and I didn't
Uh-huh.
how to run a business. So
Okay.
it's doing everything. I was selling great. There was no issues with the sales,
Right.
but everything else is broken. And so I
Right.
really wasn't prepared to run a business.
Uh-huh.
And so what came out of that was just a mess. And it was just
So,
broken, messy, losing money, frustrating, like it's just no fun. And so I retreated back and went back to what I knew, which was just selling. But
yeah.
I also, after 6 years, at that time I was like 30,
Right.
and it's a different mental place when you're 30, 31, 32. Behind the scenes, you're making a lot of money,
Sure.
and if you look at the bank account, you're successful.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm still knocking doors.
Okay.
And you walk up to a door and you knock on somebody's door and they look at you like you're a failure. And that happens every single day, all day. And you go
Okay.
into a room and you talk about what you do for a living, and then people find out you sell door to door. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just this battle of like, is this all I'm ever going to be as a door to door guy? Like, am I going to be a door to door guy at 50?
Right.
Is
Like
this
a
what I
stigma.
want to do with my life? Is be a
Uh-huh.
door to door salesman at 50 years old? I'll make money,
Right.
but this feels like I felt trapped.
All right. So this stigma was bothering you. So what did you do to get out of there?
Well, it wasn't like a choice really. I started to read more business books.
Okay.
And YouTube started to become more popular, and I drove so much.
Uh-huh.
And I started listening to like sales YouTube stuff first, and then I started finding business influencers. And then I just started hearing a bunch of terms that never really heard. And,
Mm-hmm.
I just got introduced to the business world for the first time, and I had so much free time driving
Yeah.
that I just started consuming a ton of content
Uh-huh.
and just learning little things. And then I'm like, something happened, and I had an opportunity to hire a sales guy.
Yeah.
And so I decided to do that. And we slowly started to scale the business again. But I knew a lot more than I did when I
So
was.
now you were focused, or you had, what do I say, a better guidance rebuilding the business this time.
Yeah, I was a little smarter. I was a little more mature. I knew
Mm-hmm.
what I had done wrong before. And at least now I had a resource to go get some answers. Like I didn't know how to do everything,
Yeah.
but I could go to the library and read a business book, or I could go find a podcast, or I could go on YouTube and do some research because I just didn't know anybody. I didn't have a mentor, somebody who could help kind of guide me.
Yeah.
But just being able to go find the knowledge, I was able to start. And it wasn't like I built an amazing business right then.
Right.
It's just I wasn't as naive as I was when I was 24. So everything I did was a little more cautious. I spent more time thinking through it and, trying to do it better. But I'd say, now I'm 48 and I still do that to this day. It's like, still feel like I'm
Right.
in business every day.
But you're just being humbled here. At one point, you were selling like millions of dollars a year, right? If I read this correctly. So it was a big leap. I don't think most people in our industry even hit $1 million in sales a year. You are multi-million dollars of sales a year. So was successful as you thought? Was chaotic as you thought? Or did you like it? What was it?
So when I started to rebuild it, we were doing just regular retail business, just like we had, except for we were advertising. We opened a showroom. We grew to that $3 to $5 million range just in regular retail.
Uh-huh.
It was good. I liked it. It was fun business. We were making good money. Like everything was good. And then we got in bed with a box store.
Yeah.
Uh, and actually, we were in Arizona at the time, and I had an opportunity to get some territory for a box store in Las Vegas.
Uh-huh.
And I decided to take it. I wasn't, it was a big decision, but we ended up taking it. And then that added a couple $1 million to our revenue. And then that
Yeah.
box store every year would offer us more territories.
Sure.
They kept doing it in different locations. Like we weren't centralized in one spot. They kept taking me to different states and places that we didn't run a business. But
Uh-huh.
I got excited about it, and it was like a big opportunity and lots of revenue, and we were making pretty good money.
Yeah.
And that grew really big. I mean, at one point we were in 7 major markets. We
That,
had
that's huge.
61 employees. Uh,
Wow.
and we ran, I mean, it was a good business. There was nothing wrong with it. It wasn't broken like it was when I was young, making good money. Like our team was doing well, but we were starting to see a shift where there were a lot of factors that were hurting our profitability. And every year our profitability was getting a little tighter. We were getting a little bigger and our profits were getting a little tighter. And we kept trying to fix that.
Yeah.
And I felt like if I continued on the same path,
Yeah.
that I was going to hit a point where our profitability really got tight.
Sure.
And then I'd have this really big window covering business, but that wasn't making it would be like my door-to-door thing again,
Okay.
where
Okay.
where now I have a huge business with tons of risk and tons of people,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I could make more if I just ran my $3 to $5 million business
Sure.
in
I
one.
heard that too. So sometimes it's bigger numbers, but the profit, the bottom line is not as big because there's so much going on behind the scenes that people don't see it, right?
Yeah, that's it's and you don't know what you don't know. Like I didn't know the right answer. I didn't know totally how to fix it, but I learned like there's a in every $100 you need to have a certain number of dollars for your profit. And then you need a
Hmm.
certain number of dollars for material and for people and for overhead. And those numbers have to work. And I
Hmm.
really didn't realize that until probably like at a deep level,
Yeah.
3.5, 4 years ago, when I really started to understand like the math in that $100 has to work. And if it's not ideally fit, the bigger you get, the worse it gets. But
So,
I realized I don't have to get small
hmm,
because like before I had retreated so that the math would work.
yeah,
I also realized like the math can work, and if the math works, you can actually grow and get bigger and add people. As long as that math works, you can
yeah,
get as big as you want to get. And so,
right,
we decided to start pulling out of the box stores because for me the math didn't work.
right.
I needed to be able to buy my material correctly. I needed to be able to price it correctly. And so we
So,
retreated, and now we're rebuilding. But we over 3 years gave all of our box stores back.
okay,
It's like a very slow process because we just had too much exposure and I
sure,
could just turn it off overnight.
yeah,
But our revenue is still, 8-figure revenue.
right,
We're more profitable now
right.
because the math, we understand the math, but we're still working on it. It's still, there's a lot of challenges to get that right. But yeah,
Right.
that's where we're at.
So for the people that are listening and don't have a business mentality, a business background, now you have all these expertise. So you're saying every $100 that come in, you need to spread in different buckets. So you don't put everything sales, not put everything people, not put everything advertise. So it's like if you tiered the bill and put a little bit on each bucket to compensate to pay for different departments in your business, correct?
Yeah, I think like if you have a point four cost factor,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which everybody's had, sometimes you have a point two or a 0.45. If you have a point four cost factor, then in every $100 you've allocated $40 to material, which means you have $60 left
Mm-hmm.
if you sell it at full retail.
Right.
If you don't sell it at full retail, say you give 20% off, now out of that $100 you only have $80 left because now you're selling it for $80. And so now 50% of your sale price is material. And to run a larger business, you can't have 50% of your revenue material. You
Right.
need to have a much smaller percentage of your revenue allocated to material,
Mm-hmm.
which means you have to source differently. If you're overpaying your sales team, if you're paying high commissions and their percentage of the $100 is too high, that doesn't work either. Or if your marketing budget is 20% of your $100, that's too much. And it's finding, sometimes people are like, hey, out of that $100, I only need to make 3% profit. So for every $3, every $100, I'll take home $3, and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want that. I want like our business to make $20 profit after every bill's paid out of the
Right.
$100.
Mm-hmm.
It took me forever just to learn. And my recommendation for everybody in our industry is like, if you're a one man show, that's not as important. But if you're going to add people, you should sit down and ideally sit down with somebody who understands money and finances and spend, a couple weeks just digging into what those numbers look like. That way you can build it the right way. And you can build it and be profitable. You could take it from 1 million to 2 million and it can be really worth it. But some of the people in our industry want to take it to 10 million. And if they want to take it to 10 million, they need to understand the math so that as they take it there, they don't end up like me where it's like you grow it bigger and make less money.
Right. But I guess it's not just we speak about our industry because that's what we do every day, but I guess it it pertains to every business primarily. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. If you don't make enough, it's not a sustainable business. That's why every 100 business that I start, 80% fail and die before year 5. Just because, as you said, well, I'm content with 3%. Oh, but guess what? 3% is not enough in the long run. And what about if you get sick? What about if you stop working? So you're going to consume all your 3% until you don't have anymore. And then your business die right there. Or, someone sues you and you need money to pay lawyers and all of these things. Or you need to expand and you need equipment and you don't have money. You didn't allocate enough capital for those things. So it's very important to understand. We see this in our industry, but I think this is all over in
I
every
agree.
part of the country, every part of every industry. And that goes beyond. I think I see the same problem in Brazil. I talk to people in Europe. It's the same thing. I think people don't have a business mentality.
And
Um,
I don't think it's usually because they're not good at the work. Like you can be an amazing installer or an amazing window covering designer. You can be really good at the business itself, like the trade,
yeah,
but most of us don't fall into the industry. Like we usually stay and become a dealer because we're good at the trade,
right.
but we're not necessarily good at the business side. And sometimes if we're really good at the trade and we have a lot of energy and ambition, then being good at the trade hurts us because we're like, hey, now I'm just going to take my energy and ambition and I'm just going to grow this thing like crazy. But we haven't learned the business side.
Right.
Yeah, you'll see dealers who are big, who are, they got 20 employees, but the owner is still selling.
Hustling
They're still
every day.
selling every day. They can't
Yeah.
replace their income. Like the business isn't making the money, so they have to sell to make the same amount of money. Or
Uh-huh.
you'll see somebody with 8, 10 employees and the business owner's working 80, 90 hours a week because they can't afford to pay somebody to do part of the job because they're not charging enough because the math is usually wrong. So I think it happens.
100%.
Yeah, it's happening. I mean, it's happening everywhere, and I've fallen victim to that so many
Yeah.
times. It's like
Yeah.
that's the hard part. It's just trying to figure out. You're competing. It's a competitive industry. We're
Correct.
all selling the same stuff.
Right.
We're all targeting the same clients.
Right.
And when you have some people who are smaller operations or larger operations, but they're willing to do it at much more discounted prices,
Uh-huh.
then it becomes difficult to hold your price in the house.
Yeah.
It feels, like it's just tough.
Yes. Now, tell me about Aris. What is this? How it came about? What is your next step?
Yeah, so we're still a dealer. My business is Southwest Blinds and Shutters.
Yeah.
We love our business and we're growing it and putting a lot of energy into it.
Yeah.
Eris, originally, we just created it for ourselves
Uh-huh.
because for us to make the math work the way that we felt like it needed to work, we needed to control our supply chain.
Okay.
So we started stepping away from our traditional suppliers in the industry and we just created our own supply chain. We started with our primary products first that we were selling, which were roller shades, zebra shades, and natural shades. And over the last couple of years, we've just really been designing the products and improving them and trying to make a really amazing program for our own business.
Okay.
And the further we've gotten along that road, we just realized there's an opportunity for us as a business to open up, give it a name, which we called it Eris,
Mm-hmm.
and open this up to other dealers. The challenges as an independent dealer with the suppliers in our industry. There's some really great things and there's some really difficult things. So
Right.
we feel like with Eris, we can have a niche for ourselves that services an independent dealer.
Yeah.
Gives them a little bit different, we're not trying to replace the big suppliers. We're not going to be able to ever do that.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to create a line that a dealer could add to their portfolio that's very profitable, very easy to use, really dealer focused. So it's simple to sell, simple to run a business with, and it enhances the dealer business.
Okay.
And that's what Eris is. So we use it every day in our own business. And, like I was on a video call with the factory last night with my chief product officer,
Yeah.
and we're working on a new cassette and some tube upgrades. And so we're doing all this development work
Uh-huh.
so that we have an amazing line of products to sell to homeowners in Arizona and Las Vegas. And now we're opening it up for dealers. And so we're starting to get dealer orders, and we want to build that supply chain.
So you're pretty much controlling the entire process, like a vertical integration from manufacturer to selling, but because you saw potential and you saw cost savings, you want to leverage the production, having a nice network of dealers so you can, through to volume, potentially even make these even cheaper because of volume to
Part of
produce.
it, yeah. So we've got the price down. Our buy price is good. Like the math
Yeah.
works for us. Part of what we wanted to be able to do was control. So we're not the manufacturer. We work with a factory overseas,
Okay.
but what we are is the developers. So we're
Sure.
spending a lot of time in each category building the line and
Mm-hmm.
enhance. Like we want continuous improvement in the line.
Yeah.
So like in our roller shade product, we spent a lot of time redesigning brackets, redesigning cassettes, all the internal mechanisms, changing fabrics. Like we want to continue to design and develop. And all those things that drove us crazy as dealers, where we'd get something from the factory and there's like a root cause problem that's not being solved. We want to solve them because we don't want to deal with them every day. Like we want to be able to take the shade and be able to install it and have it be exactly what it should be. And when we know there's fixable issues, we wanted the ability to fix them. And we also wanted the ability to add fabrics that we think are missing and, improve a sample book and make a line easier to sell. And, there's a lot of things that we wanted to get our hands on because there's the price of the product, but then there's all the other things that come from the product that affect the profitability of a business. Like if my spec guide is 250 pages, then
Wow.
it makes it really difficult for me to hire new salespeople
Right.
because they can't understand a 250-page spec guide unless they've been with me for a couple years. So
Uh,
if
to
I can make
to
it,
me, it's a great thing. I see, like, well, for instance, when I go buy a car, I don't go ask the salesman at the showroom for feedback. I go ask the mechanic, is this car breaks, or how often do you need to replace the braking pads? So things that the salesman never going to tell you because he wants to sell. So it feels like you are a dealer, so you bring your own pains into the manufacturer. Say, hey, fix this because I don't want to deal with this in the future. Same thing with an installer. The installer gives a lot of feedback because we are the ones on the field every day and say, hey, don't. I'm talking about, my relationship with my dealers, my workrooms. Say, hey, don't order these this way, add a couple more inches so we'll make my life easier. So you guys are doing exactly that. So you're creating a product that going to work because you are installing and you see what works, we see what not. And that's a great plus right there, in my opinion.
yeah, I don't think, most suppliers don't come from a dealer. Most suppliers came from a different part of the industry, so they don't understand the life of a dealer.
Right.
They definitely don't understand the life of an installer. And so our chief product officer was our lead installer for years and years and years. So he understands product at the window at a
Right.
very deep level, and all the issues that he's had to solve with homeowners and all the complaints. And
Yeah.
so, and then, we have the selling side and the designing side, and like we do everything as a dealer every day,
Right.
and we're doing it within our own line. So we're
Right.
continuing to identify all the pain points, and now we're opening it up to dealers, and they're doing the same thing. They're saying, we sent out a wovenwood sample, and in
Yeah.
our markets, we don't sell a lot of wovenwoods as balances. It's just not
Mm-hmm.
popular in Arizona and Vegas.
Right.
But this dealer does, and he saw the balance returns, and he didn't like them.
Right.
And so we've actually been working, and we've redesigned our balance returns, and we're on, I think, version 2 of the redesign.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's better than what it was. We think it's really nice, but we're going to continue to take that feedback. We're adding a new cassette because in our market, our window sizes, our 3-inch cassette works perfect, and our
Mm-hmm.
4.5-inch cassette works great for sliding doors.
Right.
But we don't have a lot of really, really tall regular windows. Well, some
Sure.
of the dealers do,
Sure.
and we need to get to 135 in a cassette. That's not really tall, so we are adding a third cassette. And
Right.
I think but we're keeping the integrity of all the engineering innovations that we've come up with. So
Right.
I think the more strong dealers we bring in with installation minds or strong design minds,
Yeah.
and some of the dealers are selling and installing.
Yeah.
Our founding dealers he sells and installs his own stuff.
Sure.
He really sees it because he's touching both sides of it.
Right.
So I think we'll stay as a smaller supplier, but with our dealer partners, I think they'll be able to have a strong voice.
Mm-hmm.
And, it takes time to do product development. It's not like you can just say, hey, James, I need this fixed tomorrow. But you can say, hey, here's an idea, and then we can start working on it. And maybe in
Right.
3 months, we send out an email and say, hey, this is launching in 30 days.
Right.
And that's the goal that we have.
Yeah.
And we're doing it with our own team. Our designers, we're launching honeycombs, and
Mm-hmm.
we have our fabric books, and we went to mills overseas, and we started picking colors and fabrics. And I just met with one of my designers on Saturday and had her look at the fabrics that we're looking at. And I had we're going around our team.
Right.
What's going to sell? What's not going to sell? What do we need? What are we missing? And they're the
Right.
ones in the houses. So,
Wow.
yeah.
James, your story is amazing. So you go from not being a good high school student to knocking on doors to start making good money to grow into a business that you have no clue about the business side of it, and you scale back and you go back again and start learning, grow into millions of sales. Now you go into the manufacturing side. It's just incredible. Kudos to you for all your efforts, all your hard work. I'm sure it wasn't lucky. It was all behind the scene that nobody sees it. So we are getting close to the end of our interview. I'll leave a link to Aries on the show notes in case someone is willing to learn more. I also will leave your information there so people can contact you directly. So, as a last question, what would you say or what thought would you give to someone listening to our show? It doesn't have to be window treatment related, could be business, could be personal.
That's a really good question. I think for me, it would be based off what we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't be afraid to fail, and know that there's always an answer. Like, just because you've done it once and it didn't work out the way that you thought it should work out, it doesn't mean that it's not possible. It just means that you haven't figured it out yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whether you're a salesperson or you're a business owner, or you're an installer, it's like I've heard dealers say you can't find good employees. Well, I've been down that road. I've had lots of terrible hires of people who didn't work out. I've been
Yeah.
sued before. I've had people just quit in droves. But I've also had amazing people who've come out
Right.
of the business. And the more that I learn about hiring and about helping people to become leaders, and like, just the more I learn about it, it's really just a skill. I just didn't have the skill, but I was doing the activity.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more I understood it and the more I dug into it and learned and the more I got mentorship and people helping me, it's
Right.
like No, there are amazing people, and you can have amazing people who care about your business just like you do,
Yeah.
and they'll stay.
Right.
It's just a skill. So I think it's just don't be scared to fail and just keep looking for answers. There's a lot of amazing dealers. There's a lot of industry groups now, like Exciting Windows and different business coaches that I've met recently
Yeah.
that want to share. And I think as dealers in the industry, the more open we can be. I love that you're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
I think our industry and your book, we need more voices. I think people get in this mentality like I can't share, like they'll be an anonymous poster in the Facebook groups because people are going to steal, my secrets. And it's like, no, what happens is like even your competitors just start seeing you as a human and people share. And it's like, there's plenty of business for everybody. But
Yeah.
if you don't do anonymous and you just post as a real person, you're going to get DMs from people
Yeah.
who have similar stories. And then you start making friendships and you start learning from people in the industry at all different sizes and levels. So I think, I love the education component. And I think our industries need more voices and people who are just willing to be raw and real and share.
Right. It's funny because there's one chapter in my book that I say something similar to what you just said. A lot of people kind of try to be super protective and they look weakened. And then, their competitors, because you're trying to protect everything as opposed to the guy next to you that shares everything. And instead of weakens him, it's actually making him stronger because now he's a resource and you lean on him or her and it becomes those friendships that you just mentioned. People should change mentality. And one last thing that you just touched. When I first started in business, I became part of this networking group. So everything was new to me. And this guy he stand out and said, well, I'm looking to hire someone as our second employee. And I was kind of, wow. So I came to him after the meeting and say, how do you find someone to grow your team? Because it was so intimidating to me. And he said, Roger, you're going to go through 5 or 6 bad ones before you find a good one. Yeah. So that stuck to me. So obviously, that was 20 years ago. There are better ways to find people, but definitely you're not going to hit a home run every single time. Some people may look good on paper, but then they are not exactly what you want them to be. Perhaps you're not the right fit for them either. So it goes both ways. But eventually, as you said, you find the right people and companies can grow if they have the right leadership.
Yeah,
so
if you
James,
look across your neighborhoods, there's amazing people that you meet in your social circles, and a lot of them work for people.
Right.
Most people are not entrepreneurs, so it's like, well, if you know a bunch of amazing people that work for somebody,
right,
that means that you can hire, like it's possible. Businesses are figuring it out. There's also businesses that have terrible employees, so
right.
it's just another thing to figure out and to solve, just like anything else in business.
For sure. James, really appreciate your time, your expertise, all your insights, and I'll definitely leave all the notes on the show note for everyone looking for more information about what you're doing.
Yeah,
thanks so much,
buddy.
man.
Roger, I appreciate it, man. I love what you're doing, so thanks for having me.
I appreciate you as well. Thanks so much.
Have a good one.
And that's a wrap for today. Hope you're leaving with something that sticks. If this episode resonated, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. For more information, follow Roger at rogermagalhães.com and find the link in the show notes for a free chapter of his book, Nobody Told Me That. We'll see you next Sunday with no strings attached.